means and internal processes. So has something to do with the schema or the prior knowledge of students. And it also has something to do with the language acquisition device that is already installed, that they are actually and naturally having this knowledge that we just need to cultivate it. So some of the methods are lecture, visual tools, mind maps, charts, facilitate memorization and learning, and of course there are also multiple choice type of tests and essay assessment. If you will notice rather, there are also multiple choice tests in behaviorism, but it differs on the content. Next, we have the constructivism. Learner builds a personal experience, active and social in learning process. So the students or the learners are actually creating positive memories wherein it will be used in terms of their learning. So associating positive views on things will make them think and will make them have this so-called initial learning connections. Some methods are discovery, collaborative group work, and scaffolding. Scaffolding providing that they are having guides. So self-guided learning based on personal experience. It is not really self-guided in the term that they are just the ones to study for themselves, but the teacher will be giving them cues on hints. So peer grading is also there. Excuse me. So peer grading for us to have this so-called positive motivation from them. Connectivism includes the methods of self-directed quest for content. It includes self-directed learning via nodes. It is also called as the pedagogy of the future, since it has something to do with a lot of technology and spontaneous learning groups. Next slide, please. So we're now dealing with these theories or pedagogies in terms of actual classroom setup. So first, behaviorism. It is actually popularized by three famous theories. Pavlov, we have Thorndike, and we have B.F. Skinner. So we have Thorndike, who actually introduced the cat in the box experiment, wherein the cat was given a reinforcement, a food, after escaping from the trap. So in that instance, this theorist, Thorndike, has had this positive association wherein the cat learned best when given reinforcement, and that is so-called operant conditioning. While Ivan Pavlov had this classical conditioning, and B.F. Skinner have operant conditioning. So we will discuss further if we will given a time. But let's have now the behaviorism. So reward system is present, rewarding students in working well with commendation and praise points, even with vocal praise. So even though you're just giving them reward in terms of praise, it is a good thing. So according to B.F. Skinner, it has something to do with the operant conditioning. If you're going to praise your student when they do good things, they actually learn it better. They also, the repetition of tasks and quizzes to improve test scores, ultimately get better grades as they practice. But why are we going to repeat this? So in terms of behaviorist approach and behaviorist view, you are going to let the child repeat the said task for perfection and to gain a higher grade. Next, you also need to have quick feedback. Why do we need to have quick feedback? The sooner to give the feedback after a task, the more effective it will be in shaping that students for success. If the feedback is late with the work, the effect will be lost. So the sooner, the better. In terms of correcting them, it is better to correct them the soonest possible way. So if they are actually having, or they are mispronouncing a word, you can actually correct them in an instant in terms of behaviorist approach. Next, reward the revision. Revision isn't fun, even though for adults. But if we introduce a reward system that we're going to praise those students, that if they exerted more effort in doing those tasks and they will not cram, they will do better in terms of their studies. And last, we have the start of lesson routine. So most of the teacher uses routine in setting lines and guidelines for the conditioning of the learners. Over time, students learn to come into classroom and either just sit down and wait for instruction and begin to working a task or a board. But as teachers, we develop routines for them to actually guide in teaching learning process. Next slide, please. Now let's have cognitivism. The cognitivism approach or pedagogy focuses on the mind. So the mind is the central idea of this pedagogy, wherein mental processes such as thinking, knowing or memorization, problem solving, and goal opening of the black box of the human mind. It is said that we already have the language acquisition device. We just need to turn it on. So as children develop in terms of cognitivist approach, they will be deemed valuable and necessary to have or to actually activate the schema or their prior knowledge. It is actually a different view in terms of the tabula rasa, wherein tabula rasa actually symbolizes that we are blank slate. Activities that rely on remembering ask for students to recall previously learned information to complete the task at hand. They might be a great review for the beginning of the class to see if students are comprehending previous lessons. So a review before a lesson is good since we actually check if they are still remembering what we have taught them, and a couple of activities in creating such thing is also good, like creating a timeline of important events from their memory. Another good game is the reciting of poetry or important writings. In terms of gamification, they learn at the same time they enjoy. Writing paragraph or blurb detailing what they remember from their last class. And lastly, understanding activities which directly engage students to see how they interpret information. This is particularly broad category that shows from student from being able to analyze information from different angles and to recognize, interpret, classify them. So some of these are defending a point of view. So from this activity, they will actually think critically and they will have a different view of a said topic. Creating list of samples is also a good activity. Classifying the types of process or events. If it's good or bad, if it is applicable or not, that's one good thing about cognitivism. Next slide, please. Let's have constructivism from the word construct. So what are we going to construct? Students are the creators of knowledge, meaning what they create will be deemed important for them. And that feeling gives them endless streams of information. Won't help them if they don't fully understand it. So before they learn, they should actually understand what are they going to learn. So you need to give awareness what are you expected from them before the class starts. Build tasks around really getting it at the bottom of the topic. Make sure you provided enough context, not just assessment material, so that students can build wider understanding. So it's not only enough to have assessment, but we're also giving them things that will actually guide them in answering those said assessment. So encourage helpful conversation in the classroom. Most of the teachers don't want their students to chat, but it is healthy if it's academic chat. It's not always disruptive. So students are helping each other to complete a task by means of speaking is one good activity, especially in English. English as a language should be spoken, not only written. Next, we need to try to set tasks in and conclude a discussion where students have to say. So it's not actually all the time that the teacher should speak inside the classroom, but our students should also speak. in terms of their outlook, in terms of what they need to say inside the classroom, and what